Here I am. What's up? How are we? What's going on? It's Wednesday. It's time for our weekly training. It's very exciting. So we are doing a series of trainings for December. Kicking 2020 to the curb. Who's with me? Who's in? And preparing for 2021. Can you believe that? So is this going to be like the 20s? Is that how it'll be referred? Because the 20s are 1920. Showing my age. How's this going to work out? I don't know. But we are going to be here for you as we figure this out. So we are doing weekly trainings. They're building on each other. So if you didn't see last week, definitely check it out. You can scroll down. It's living here on our YouTube channel and in our Facebook group. So you can check that out. And so last week we talked about values. We are putting together the 2021 roadmap for you, and every training will build on to the next. And so we talked about values, and now this week we're going to talk about goals. Something I water over. We're talking about goals, and next week we'll be talking about money. I don't know why I do that, because that's how people tend to act. Hey, Dad. People tend to act about money. I actually love talking about money, but we're going to do that next week. And then the following week, the last week, we'll be talking about putting it all together so that you can create a map, the 2021 map to make things happen for you. That's what we're doing. So we're having a really, really, howdy from Houston. Well, howdy, Houston. We don't have any problems. So let's dive in and talk about goals, shall we? Very exciting. So sometimes I think talking about goals, to me, I feel like it's overdone, but I think you'll like what we have. We have a little bit of a twist on talking about goals today. And I want to kind of preface a little bit, because we talked about values, and I kind of want to preface goals don't really matter if you don't know your values. And I think sometimes this is why. So we have habit, right? Habits are what we do every day because our brain thinks whatever we did yesterday, we survived. That's why we need to do whatever we did yesterday today. Even if what we did yesterday was bad for us, we lived. And the brain's like, you lived today. I want to live another day. So let's do the same thing we did yesterday. Even if I sat on the couch and ate potato chips all day long, the brain's like, okay, let's do that again. Which is why when you go to change a habit, even if it's something you know is better than what you've been doing, your brain's like, wait a minute, no, don't do that, no change, we're gonna die. That is the flight or fight response, and that is very ingrained in us. So when we try to willpower it and try to go like, I'm just gonna force myself to do this thing, it's one of the reasons why people set resolutions January 1st or December 31st, and February 1st, they're right back into where they were before. And so it's because by trying to will a habit together or force yourself to do something, and a lot of times, the other beautiful part that goes with this is then it has throw in some shame, a little smear of guilt. It's awesome. And then you start beating yourself up because you're not doing the habit that you said you were going to do, and what's wrong with me? And then it goes really haywire, right? We want to ease off of all of that, because what's happening there is that you're putting a habit together that isn't in alignment with your values or your identity. So you've got the things that you do every day. You've got the habits that you have and you want to break, and the habits that you have that you want to create. And then you've got the values that are created, or actually beliefs would be in there too. So you have thoughts that are created by doing those things. You're thinking about what you're going to do. Those thoughts over and over become beliefs. So sometimes you do something over and over again. You start to believe that something about that, whether it's good or bad, that belief then becomes part of your value. So you value something and you do it over and over again because that's what you value, whether or not you're even aware of it, whether it's cognizant or not. And all of those values create an identity. So sometimes when you're not doing, or you are doing something you don't want to do, or you're not doing something you want to do, if you just ask yourself, why am I doing this? What is this getting me? Because there's a secondary gain to anything you're doing, whether it's you picking a fight with someone or not. One of my friends said that his wife confessed that she picks a fight with him to get his attention. She realized that that's what she was doing. She didn't even want to fight with him. She wanted his attention, so she picked a fight. You see it in kids all the time. Kids want attention, so what do? They throw themselves on the floor. Like, you see it all the time. We do the things that work, right? Even if we're not really sure why we're doing them. And that realization for her would be huge in their relationship, right? So if you start to ask yourself, well, why? And why aren't I doing this? And why aren't I doing it? If I want to do this, why aren't I doing it? If I say I want to finish my screenplay, why am I not finishing my screenplay? If I say I want to do this thing. Why aren't I doing it? So it's like, start asking yourself and being honest. The look method, we talk about this all the time. Look at where you're at. You can't get anywhere if you don't know where you're at. Your GPS has no place to start if you're not honest about where you are to begin with. So look at where you're at. Look at what you're actually doing every day. That's a clue into what your values are. So if you're actually doing something else, that's what you're valuing, whether you say you value this other thing or not. Wow, you're like the Charlie Brown adult. Like, you can say it all day long. If you're not actually doing the thing you say you want, you're not valuing it. It's simple as that. And there's no shame, judgment, none of that. It's just like, that's what it is. So now you know, okay, you can ask yourself instead, why aren't I doing this? What do I want to value? Do I want to value my health? Who do I want to be and actually step into being? That's the thing that will change your goals. That's what will make your goal something that you can do. So we have a handout where we're walking through this. See if it works. Sometimes it does. Ooh, wow, they changed it. Okay, wow, it's fancy. Did it share? Is it sharing? Wow, that was so slick. Technology, man. I'll just send them a little note. I always try to give positive feedback to our platforms because I'll think all they really usually get are complaints. That was awesome. It was like, okay, anyway. I get, oh, wow, interesting. And now it's down here too. What happens if okay, sorry. I learned these platforms right along with you. So as you can see, in the SMART goals, when you look back on what were your goals at the beginning of the year, or even, if those of you that follow us, we have Happy Half New Year, right? We go halfway through the year, we do a whole goal setting thing again, Happy Half New Year, because a lot of the times by the time we get to July 1st, the goals that we set in January are like kicked to the curb. So we try to reinvigorate you to kind of get refocused into what is your goal going to be for the rest of the year. So whether it was a goal you set in July or whether it was a goal you set in January of 2020, everything changed this year, right? So it's interesting to look back though, right? Like, what were you thinking at the beginning of 2020? What was this year supposed to be or going to be or whatever it was? And how did that change? And instead of it being like, oh, it was terrible, just because it didn't go the way that you thought it would, or just because it didn't go the way you said it should, or whatever it might be, whatever, we put this ideal of what we think it should be. And then we think we failed if it didn't go that way. Instead, maybe it's like, okay, it ended up over here instead of over here, whatever. What am I still reaching toward the thing that I wanted to reach toward? Look at that. See, as long as you're moving towards where you want to be, even if you're moving towards it at this angle instead of this angle, that you're moving towards someplace you want to be. I mean, it's been even this journey that we've been doing in Hollywood Gatekeepers. Now we have this finished and script to screen program that we weren't planning to do, but it's been a really interesting experiment going down that path. And it's opening up all other kinds of things we want to do. It's like, whatever, just follow the journey, right? So look at that and see what you can learn from it. And then we're going to share with you SMART goals, which is a very common thing. If you Google SMART goals, you'll see a lot of people teach SMART goals, and there's a lot of different variations of it. We're going to kind of give you the one that I see the most that people use. So SMART goals are basically, it's an acronym, and it starts with specific. So the S is specific. Make a specific goal. Instead of making a goal of, I want to lose weight, make it, I want to lose 10 pounds or whatever it is. Like, make it very specific and make it measurable, because then you know if you've made the goal, right? If you say, I want to lose 10 pounds, that's your specific goal. You can measure, I want to lose this many a week. You can measure it, right? So I want to finish my screenplay. Instead of being, I want to write, say, I want to finish this screenplay. I want to write 3 pages a day. So you can measure whether or not you did that, and then make it attainable. And this is where I get kind of like, to me, attainable is like, I think Brooke Castillo has this concept that I absolutely love, because you want to, what they're saying with an attainable or sometimes actionable goal means one you can actually do. If you make some kind of goal of, like, if I made a goal that I want to be on this year's Olympic gymnastic team, it's not very attainable for me. So it's like, make a goal that you can actually do. Don't set yourself up to have disappointment. And I'm not even going to say set yourself up to fail. I won't even do that, because even if you set yourself up to an unattainable goal, you'll learn something along the way. If I did that and decided I'm going to be on the gymnastics team this year, like, what would I have to do to try to get there? And how would that change my life? It would be spectacular. I could do cartwheels again. I don't know. But it is like that idea of making a goal that is attainable. And then Brooke Castillo says, put an impossible goal on there too, which would be the gymnastics team, right? I could put that impossible goal out there and work towards it with all my might, because where I'll end up is in a different place than where I am, with that dream. So whatever. So if you make a financial goal that's impossible, that you don't think you could make, you'll probably end up making more money as you reach to get there. So it is like making that goal. I think it's good, you make an attainable goal so that you feel like there's some hope for you that you can actually get it done. And I think you also throw in the scoop of impossible, just because I think you'll reach further if you do that. So, and then you've got, so it's specific, measurable, attainable, and then realistic, which is kind of along the lines of attainable, which is why kind of actionable makes a little more sense. It's something you'll take action, you'll actually do. And then realistic is the same kind of thing in terms of making sure that it's something that is within your realm of your world. And then time-based is the T. So it's like, I'm going to write 3 pages every day, or I'm going to finish my screenplay in 90 days, or whatever it might be. You put a time base on it, which actually makes a lot of sense, so that you know when you need to get things done. And sometimes you can reverse engineer, where you want to finish your screenplay. It's this many pages. You have this much time to work on it. It takes this many hours for you to write this many pages, and you can work your way backwards, and then you can make an attainable measure goal that's time-based, where it's going to take you this amount of time, and then you can stick to it and finish your screenplay or finish the screen reader program, for those of you that are in there, or whatever it might be. So when you make that time-based goal, so that's the typical SMART goals. Now, we at Hollywood Gatekeepers, we like to throw our little hat in the ring of making these goals in a different way. And one of the reasons that we're even talking about values, like, what does this have to do with reading or screenplays or anything? We feel very passionately that by having a concept of your life, living a life where you're more contented, for one, you're going to be a better reader, because you're not going to be bringing your angst to the page. You're going to be, you're going to be like, you're going to be in a better place to be able to review people's work and not be cranky about it. And then also, when you understand yourself and you understand goal setting and you understand values, you can apply that to your characters. When you know that characters have these certain values, when characters conflict with each other, it's typically a clashing of values. It's not even about the topic that they're arguing. It's about the differing values. I value this, you value that, and that's why we don't get along. And so by understanding that, when you bring that to the table as a reader, you have so much more you can provide for a writer. When you're in a room with a producer and they're trying to figure out how to fix it, when you bring this authenticity and understanding of human behavior to the idea of writing, everything changes and everything becomes more authentic. So this is why we're doubling down on this whole thing, because I don't see people doing this in terms of how can you write a screenplay and make it really, have magic. We talk about screenplays having a map, meaning you have a way to get to whatever you need. You have formatting. You have these goals that you're setting as your map to get there. We're creating the 2021 roadmap, right? You're creating this map to get there. You have motivation in terms of what motivates the character, what motivates the story, what motivates you as a writer, as a reader, that kind of motivation. Then you have the magic. What makes the screenplay really shine? And to me, this authenticity is the basis of all that magic. So you have the magic that you're bringing to it, and you have the magic in your life, which is what these SMART goals will do for you. Our Hollywood Gatekeeper version of the SMART goals. And that is that the S is that you smile, that you enjoy the journey. Like, we have so much angst about wanting to do things and get things done. If we just take a minute and enjoy, like, how good I made maple coffee this morning and it smells so good, right? Like, enjoy, like, I have cinnamon candles, like, enjoy the senses, enjoy, like, touch things and dance a little and be very tactical and enjoy the journey along the way. Be very present to things. There's something about that that makes it all so much better. If you can find 3 new things that you're grateful for every single day, new things every single day, so that you're always looking and reaching and looking for the thing that's going to inspire you. The next thing is to melt, to just melt into, find where the tension is in your body, breathe into it, let it melt, because when you do that, ideas come easier. You're able to write more. It'll flow better. You're able to see, when you read someone's screenplay, it won't annoy you as a reader. Instead, it will inspire you, which is what we're really reaching for, so that we can really inspire you there. We really want to do that, like, melt into it. And then the next one is allow. Please allow things to be. So much of the time, I see people give so many, and we can call them excuses, but to me, it's an inability to allow things to happen. And so people will say, well, I can't write that because it's crazy, or I can't do that because it's this or it's that. And there's so many reasons why it can't happen, rather than just allowing it to be. And stop looking for the reasons why it can't happen and start looking, smiling, looking into the things that it can. Your brain is amazing. And then it looks for the things you tell it to look for, whether you're doing it consciously or subconsciously. Start listening to what are you telling yourself to look for every day. Are you looking, when you scroll, I love Facebook is such a great tool to see someone's state of mind, because it literally reflects back to you what you click on, which means if your Facebook page is full of people complaining, you're clicking on when people are complaining, and you're going to get more of that. And life is like that too. It's like what we look for comes right back to us. If we want to find evidence for those beliefs that I talked about. So if I believe in Santa, I'm going to look for as much evidence as I can that Santa exists. If I don't believe in Santa, I can prove that he does. That's your belief, right? You have these thoughts and these beliefs, and you're going to look for things that back that up, whether it's a belief that serves you or not. And unfortunately, we have a lot of beliefs that just don't serve us. I need to know someone to break in. I need blah, blah, blah. Like whatever that noise is, when we latch onto those beliefs, they're really going to mess up these SMART goals, because again, that's going to be your identity, and they're not going to jive together. So if you can just allow it to be. And the next one is to relax. Find those times when you're resting, rejuvenating. Make sure that you take those breaks, because that's when the ideas flow. And that's why you get ideas in the shower, when you're working out, because you kind of let go and your body, you're just not so about everything. And that's often why when we sit down at the desktop and suddenly we can't focus, we can't think of anything, because we're not relaxed. So if you get writer's block and you're sitting and staring at a computer and it's mocking you, start to literally put your hands on the table and think about, where did this table come from? Think about, like, this chair is cool. Like, I wonder who bought this chair. What were they thinking of? I'm in an Airbnb, so I didn't buy it. So it's like, what's the deal behind that? Like, because what will happen is I'll open you up to the story of the chair, which doesn't really matter, but then it will open you up to the story that you're trying to create, because it relaxes you. It relaxes your mind. Come center into something. Smell your coffee, something tactical, and then that will focus you back in again. So if you can relax into that, and then trust is the last one, so that you can trust that if it takes you in a different direction, it's going to be okay. If it takes you in a direction that you weren't planning at all, it's because you've been subconsciously looking for that direction. So can you mastermind that? Can you really get behind the things that you actually want and start listening for the things that you want to hear to move yourself forward? So rather than having it be, those specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-based goals are really good to have. I'm not saying throw that out. That's really good to have. But on top of that, smile, melt, allow, relax, and trust. And as you can see, I say that all the time: smile, melt, allow, relax, trust. It becomes a thing. It's become kind of one word for me. When I'm all anxiety ridden and thinking oh, I'm never going to get it done, whatever, I often will be like, smile. I know those are the goals, and those are what will make it happen. Smile, melt, allow, relax, and trust. Put those together onto your SMART goals. And that's what's on this handout, which you can get at hollywoodgatekeepers.net, free look, /free look. And then also in there is homeroom. Come meet us at homeroom. We're there every day, especially during the holidays. I think it will help you kind of relax. We'll smile, melt, allow, relax, and trust. There's a lot of that going on in there. So definitely join us in there. And we'll be back next week to kind of talk about money blocks and what stops us from really making money, and what are some of the things we can look at that will really kind of unleash this. So if you apply the smile, melt, allow, relax, trust to your money, money headaches or things, the way that we look at money, and if you can look at your values and start to look at what you think about money, you can really open up some doors that I think are pretty amazing. So we will see you next week. We'll be back and talk about money. And then the following week, we'll put your map together so you are ready, prepared for 2021. All right, you guys, thanks for coming, and we will see you on the flip side. See you soon.